Reign of Shadows, Chapter 9. Mazeka stood on a ridge. Down below, he could see the remains of a dead village. He recognized it as having once been home to a small group of Matoran, those whose element was gravity. It looked like it had been overrun some time ago, but there were no sign of any Matoran corpses. Perhaps the villagers escaped into the hills, he thought, or maybe they were just captured.
"Your universe is very turbulent,"
said Makuta Pterodax. The white-armored warrior stood beside Mazeka. He came from an alternate universe, in which the Makuta had never rebelled, but had instead stayed loyal to the great beings and helped save a world. He had come to this universe with Mazeka to try and free it from the control of his evil counterpart.
"That's one word for it," replied Mazeka.
"It's hard to remember a time in my life when I wasn't fighting. I've been lucky. I'm still alive. Not sure that can be said about the Matoran who live down there."
"If they died, maybe it was a mercy," said Pterodax. "Maybe they are better off not seeing what the universe has come to."
"Now you sound like our Pterodax," said Mazeka. "I guess you two aren't as far apart as I'd like to think." Pterodax shook his head.
"A turn to the left instead of the right. A wound received or avoided. Rising from slumber an hour too early or too late. These are the little things lifetimes hinge on, Mazeka. Your Pterodax took a step on a path that circumstances allow me to avoid. If circumstances had been different, who knows?"
"Meaning that if you took control of this universe instead of him,
I might be just as wicked," Pterodax answered. "It is always a possibility."
Around them, the winds rose. In a moment, they had gone from a gentle breeze to a screaming maelstrom, so powerful it knocked Mazeka off his feet and sent him tumbling toward the edge of the ridge. Pterodax fought to stay focused, ignoring the storm as he used his power to keep Mazeka from falling. But the ground erupted beneath his feet, shattering his concentration. Mazeka fell down the slope, followed swiftly by Pterodax. They landed among the ruins. Mazeka's impact shattered the long-dead corpse of a Viscerac into fine black powder. Pterodax hit hard, but rolled with the fall and was back on his feet in an instant. Now that he looked around, he could see other bodies of Viscerac spiders scattered here and there. The villagers who had lived here had gone down fighting. Then, a voice came from the dead mouths of the Viscerac all around. Pterodax recognized it as his own voice, but touched with madness and evil.
"I see you have brought company, Mazeka. And such company."
"It's Makuta," Mazeka said. "He's found us."
"Yes, I never noticed your entry, I must admit,"
Makuta said through the dead spiders.
"But did you really think a pale and weak version of myself could stop me now?"
"Weak," said the white-armored Pterodax.
"Stronger, I say, for I resisted the temptations you could not." "Indeed. Then let us see just what you are capable of resisting."
The air crackled with ozone, and then before Mazeka and Pterodax's eyes, 3 figures appeared. Each resembled Takanuva, the legendary Toa of Light, but their armor was jet black, and shadow energy swirled about their hands.
"I have been a poor host, brother," said the voice of Makuta. "Allow my new friends to welcome you properly to my universe."
Helrix avoided Tuyet's slashing attack and landed a sidekick in her midsection. The corrupt tower of water staggered backwards, only narrowly avoiding being accidentally struck by Brutaka. The battle had begun only moments before, but already the chamber in which they fought was a shambles. The issue over which they fought was deadly serious. Helrix, Makuta Miserix, and Axon had decided that Pterodax's control of the universe had to be ended, even if that meant destroying the universe itself. Tuyet, Brutaka, and a possessed Leiwa Nuva believed there was still hope of driving Makuta out without killing millions of Matoran in the process. Miserix thought he would have the easiest opponent. He could sense that Leiwa Nuva was not himself, but was under the control of another. Whoever that was, they had no access to the tower's air power. That would make him ripe for defeat. Unfortunately, Leiwa's body was now home to Tren Krom, an ancient entity with enormous mental powers. Miserix's first solid blow knocked Leiwa to the ground. The fallen Toa responded with a mental shock blast that came close to turning Miserix's brain to ash. Still, Miserix had been through a lot in the past millennia. Imprisonment, torture, humiliation, and no mind power was going to be enough to stop him. He gathered Leiwa up in his claw and slammed his foe against the wall. Once! Twice! 3 times! Axon's heart wasn't in this fight. He had only recently rediscovered Brutaka and regained their old friendship. He couldn't believe they were already at each other's throats again. And he wasn't certain that Brutaka was wrong. Maybe Helrix's plans were too extreme. Maybe duty lay in protecting the Matoran until the very last moment. For this moment, though, he had to concentrate on protecting himself. One good hit from Brutaka would take his head off. Helrix had not wavered in her determination, but she also knew that this battle was sure to draw Makuta Pterodax's attention. Her chance to act could disappear at any moment. She had to do the Nova Blast now, before anyone could stop her. Tuyet could guess what was about to happen. She slammed an elbow into Axon even as Brutaka struck at him. Taking advantage of the moment, she wrestled the warrior's axe from him. With a yell, she vaulted into the air and smashed Miserix with the axe. With a roar of pain, the reptilian Makuta fell backwards, right towards Helrix. The Mad Toa hit the ground and turned to watch the end of her handiwork. But to her surprise, just as Miserix was about to crush Helrix, the ancient female warrior vanished. The Makuta landed in a heap, but was barely slowed by his wound and already seeking out his attacker. Tuyet never got a chance to defend herself. Helrix was suddenly behind her, catching Tuyet in a headlock. "Time to say goodbye," said Helrix. "We all go down together, and the universe will be better for it." The world began to blur in front of Tuyet's eyes. At first, she thought Helrix must be choking the life from her. But then she realized that everyone was looking toward the chamber's entrance, where space itself seemed to be warping. The next instant, a massive figure stepped out of the distortion and stood before them. "You imbeciles," the figure said, in a voice both old and young at the same time. "You ignorant stone apes! Is this how you try to save existence?" No one in the room had ever seen the newcomer before, but there were some who knew his voice, and all felt a chill of fear at the sound of it. Only Helrix had the presence of mind to give their visitor a name, and even she spoke it in a whisper. "Ataka." To be continued.